Conflict management. Like I said before, my name is Arkeylah Metcalf. I am a leadership consultant here in the Leadership Center. This is my second year in the Leadership Center as a consultant. I'm a senior athletic training major. So here in the Leadership Center, it's located on the second floor of the Student Center. When you come up the steps, it's on your right. You walk in, there's a desk where usually the leadership consultants sit. We provide consultant resources for you guys on campus. It also is an area where you come in and just sit, do homework, study, relax, take time off from classes in between time. You can study by yourself, study in groups. Since it's COVID right now, it's kind of a weird situation. So it's like one person per desk. So when, COVID goes away, it is the best place to be with your group of friends and things like that. So in the Leadership Center, we have these things that we abide by. So we have your interpersonal, community, and intrapersonal. So these are just different things we talk about within our workshops, within programs we put on here in the Leadership Center. So you guys can look at it. We also have it posted in the Leadership Center when you come in, so you will always see this. So today for our workshop, we will be recognizing the truths, myths, and styles of approaching conflict, understanding the fundamental concepts of conflict management, and acquiring specific approaches to handling conflict. So before we get started, I do have a little quiz for you guys to take. The link will be put in the chat, so you guys can click on it. It's 7 questions, and it's just basically telling you what type of conflict management person you are, but it's doing it by animals. So everyone can take the quiz, and then once you receive your animal, I would like if you guys can put it in the chat what animal that you receive. And if you want to turn on your mic and describe like what the animal was and what like the identifications came with the animal. So I'll give you guys some time to do that. We have everyone. A lot of you guys have the same ones. That's funny. Okay, so I'll start sharing some of the ones that I see in the chat. So we have collaborating owl, another collaborating owl, compromising fox. Someone said same. I'm thinking it was the collaborating owl because it came at the same time. Avoiding turtle, collaborating owl, and avoiding turtle. I also took this before and I was avoiding turtle, which makes a lot of sense. I don't like conflict, so it makes a lot of sense. But if you guys want to share your opinion on your animal, you can turn your mic on and share. If not, we will talk about this further in the workshop. So anyone want to share?
I can share, Arkeylah. So I wasn't necessarily surprised, I guess, when I saw that I was a collaborating owl, because a lot of the questions my answers would be about relationships or finding a compromise and whatnot. So I think it just reinforced that I hope I'm doing what I think I'm doing when I confront conflict, because I definitely try to see both sides of it and bring people together, whether that's me versus somebody else or 2 other people in my group. So like I said, I hope that it shows that I do what I think I do.
Sounds good. Thank you for sharing, Jessica. Anyone else?
I can also go. I was also the owl, and I agree with Jessica. The one thing, though, that I didn't necessarily agree with for myself is that it said I confront issues, or it says confronts problems, and I think I do. I think I know that conflict is sometimes a necessary thing, and confronting it is necessary, but I try to put it off as much as necessary until it is time to handle it, if that makes sense.
Thank you for sharing, Haley. Someone else said a competing shark. Someone else said a competing sharks. Quick question, how will attendance be taken? Jessica can answer this question. Someone wants to know how will attendance be taken. Sorry to get off.
That's okay. We'll take attendance at the end. So we'll put info in there at the very end of the presentation.
Okay, yes. So thank you everyone for taking the quiz. Thank you for those who shared. Like I said, I was the avoiding turtle too. I feel like some of the other animals I kind of related to in in certain situations, but for the most part, I don't like conflict, so I try to stay away from it as much as possible. So let's get our workshop started. So myths and truths about conflict. Conflict only occurs at work. Conflict is always dysfunctional in the workplace. Conflict is avoided and it will go away. Some truths about conflict is it occurs within 42% of leaders, and communication is a must. So don't stop until there's a solution reached. So I feel like with avoiding, you might be in a situation for a second and then try to stay away from it or try not to, like, oh, it's okay. Like, it'll just get brushed under the rug. Like, we don't have to find a solution. So that's not good. We have to communicate. We have to get our solution reached, whether it's something everyone likes or just something to just get us by. It needs to be done. So what is conflict management? So conflict management is the practice of being able to identify and handle conflict sensibly, fairly, and efficiently. So a question for everyone. Do you think conflict is good or bad? So you guys can enter into the chat whether you think conflict is good or bad. So someone said it depends on the situation. I think it's a mixed bag. It depends on the situation and the cause. It can be good depending on the situation, both good until it gets out of hand, and it depends on the situation. So I feel like we're all in the same boat. It just depends on the situation, and it could be both. So good job. So it's neither. It's inventable, meaning that it's bound to happen. Conflict is an everyday situation that we all go through, but in some cases, conflict can be prevented. Agree with Tori, we don't want to let it get that far without addressing. Yes. Conflict is a normal and inescapable part of life, and it's an opportunity to understand opposing preferences and values. So no one's wrong. It's both or neither at that point. So the positive side of conflict. Conflict can teach you to make the most of each situation and use it as a learning opportunity. It can be used as an opportunity to transform the situation into something positive. So what does conflict look like? So these are three, conflict can look like anything, I feel like, but these are three huge ones that stood out to me. So avoidance, repression, and reactive, sorry about that. So avoidance meaning like absent, hiding, or self-centeredness, like not really trying to hear anyone else out or just standing your ground and, you know, not trying to hear the situation at all. Or ill health, using substances or being irritated, meaning like you find different ways to cope with the situation without like actually dealing with the situation or finding a solution. And being reactive, which is phases of anger. So, you know, that person that just goes off as soon as they hear a situation, don't actually try to hear it out, or a person that gets angry, upset, non-operation, or decreased interaction with others. So someone who just shut down. So with that one, I feel like that can also be avoidance, where you just shut down, you have a wall, you build up, you know, don't let no one in, don't try to express yourself or your feelings in a situation. Or also, I know a big one with some of us is like going to your room or avoiding like those you talk to in an everyday life, like just red flags like that, just someone not being their self. So what can cause conflict? So differences of opinions and beliefs, values can conflict, unclear or unspoken, and needing space. So there are two types of conflicts. There might be other type of conflicts out there in the world, or there might be reworded in certain situations. But two conflicts that I came up with is dysfunctional and functional. And functional conflict would be something that helps someone grow. There's a clear understanding of the relationship, and something that provides an outlet for stress, anxiety, and frustration. So when you say functional, you think of like the positive side of conflict. So something like you're benefiting from it, like it's helping you grow, it's make you a better person. Or even if it is a negative conflict, it's you finding a positive outcome or positive resolution from it. Dysfunctional conflict is keeps people from getting things done. It threatens or destroys relationships. People can get hurt when it becomes personal, and people are forced to make decisions. So conflicts such as deciding between friendships in a relationship, or deciding between certain things in a workplace, like maybe a big project that needs to be done. So like arguing about like the way you should go about the situation, or even like I know like for the leadership center, we also have like fraternity and sorority life. So even in some organizations, like certain workshops you want to put on, certain events you want to put on. So stuff that divides you as a unity or divides you as an organization can be a dysfunctional conflict. Does anyone have any example of dysfunctional conflict? It could be something that you've dealt with personally, or just something you know about, like whether it's your organization, whether it's something in class, on campus. You can just share it in the chat, or even turn your mic on if you want to.
I can share one because it's fresh on my mind. I was just in a conversation with some people that were having some pretty dysfunctional conflict about the election and how people were reacting to it. And I would say that it's dysfunctional because there was a lot of back and forth and people not being able to be in the same room. Definitely the threat of destroying relationships, and it did become very personal. People were feeling hurt by some of the comments that were made, and there wasn't an attempt to have that growth or see somebody else's side. So I would say that's definitely one that I just saw recently that I would deem as dysfunctional.
Definitely. Thank you, Jessica. I would also say that is a good example. Just within the world, like this election has been a very big dysfunctional conflict. Just with the opposing sides, no one trying to come to, altogether agreement. Then within like your households, how like some families are on different opposing sides. So that can become where it threatens or destroys relationships. So that was a great example. Thank you, Jessica. So how can we prevent conflict? Holding frequent team meetings, like when it comes like within your teams or organization, allowing each other to express concerns openly, whether it's relationships, situations, stuff within the workplace or your organization, just being that person or being that organization that you're open to opinions, and you're not just one, whatever you say, go. Sharing objectives, going back to the open concerns, being clear and detailed with your job descriptions and directions. That's a big thing too. I feel like within the workplace, um, all employees are not the same, or all organization members are not the same. So you have to be clear on what you're looking for or what needs to be done, because everyone can interpret it a different way. Never criticizing, always being fair, and being a role model. Being a role model is a big one that I feel like stuck with me, because if someone sees you doing the right thing, or someone sees how you control a situation or see how you control a conflict, that can also help you prevent, conflicts to come within the workplace, or even within just your friendships. Like if they see how you deal with certain situations, then that can affect them and prevent upcoming conflicts. Steps to resolve conflict. Assure privacy. If someone doesn't want to be bothered, I know avoidance is one of the big ones, but if someone doesn't want to be bothered, it's okay to let that person be standoffish for a little bit, but knowing that that's how they deal with situations, it's okay to for them to have their own privacy. Empathize and then sympathize. So be there for them, tell them like, I understand what you're going through, but also, explain. Listening actively, not always try to get your point across. Sometimes it's okay to listen. You learn more by listening sometimes. Maintain equity. Focus on issues, not on personality. Avoid blame. Identify our alternate solutions. Give positive feedback, and agree on an action plan. So when it comes to the identify alternate solutions, that also goes with, I believe, the collaborating or compromise. I feel like they're the same thing to me, but that also goes with being able to work as a team or work with other people. That can resolve a lot of conflicts. So hearing other people out also. So this is basically like the OWL quiz that you guys took. But this is just a few questions. So I'll give you guys a few minutes to look over it. But basically with this quiz, you will go through and you will answer it versus as rarely, sometimes, often, or always, sorry. Just based on how you feel. So like I discuss issues with others to try to find a solution that meets everyone's needs. So like I would choose maybe often. So you'll go through, pick your number, and then afterwards you would look at the total chart that's on the side, and for each one you'll put like your score for what you got for that certain conflict management. So you guys can go through and look at it. We don't necessarily have to take it, but just read some of the questions and just kind of like self-reflect, like how am I like this? Like, do I try to meet the wishes of my friends and family? Can I figure out what needs to be done? Am I usually right or wrong? Like, just go through and look at it for a second. You can even open up a discussion to talk about like which one you had comment on or which one like stuck out to you the most. Yes, Jessica provided a copy of the slides just in case you guys want to take this quiz for later just to know about yourself more. I know a big one for me would probably be I avoid hard feelings by keeping my disagreements with others to myself. I am a person that I don't like conflict, but if I see something and I don't like agree with it, I just like I'm not gonna say nothing because I don't want to talk about it, or I don't want to hear not necessarily don't want to hear other people's opinions, but I just don't want that, oh, this might end our friendship, or oh, like everybody is hothead right now and then going back and forth at it. So I am that person that if it's a disagreement, I just keep it to myself. So yeah. If anyone else would like to share one that stuck out to them or one they don't really agree with, like would be rarely scored.
One that I see that I would definitely score myself a 1 on is I find conflict exhilarating. I enjoy the battle of winds that usually follows. I hate conflict. I will address it when it comes up. I definitely won't let it linger, but it makes me so nervous at first, and I wish that I could avoid it a little bit more. So maybe I wish that I agreed with some of the avoiding questions, but I definitely do not find it exhilarating at all.
Thank you for sharing. I feel like that one would kind of tie in with like the person, like competing person, like the person that always wants to win. Like, it doesn't matter whether they're wrong or right, like the person that just win all the time. Okay, so our 5 styles of manage conflict, which goes back to the animal quiz we took and also the last slide. So these are where we're about to get into the definition of what each one means. So competing is more of like a win-lose situation. So one side wins, the other person loses. Collaborating, win-win situation. We come to a common agreement, or we, make something together. Avoiding, lose-lose situation. You're just avoiding it altogether. You're not even trying to figure out what should be done. Accommodating, win-win situation. Everyone's happy, not just satisfied. And then compromising, lose-lose. We're just finding a solution. It doesn't matter whether it's what we wanted. So to get further into detail, I'm going to explain each one for you guys. So competing is the style that works for people who approach conflict in a competitive way, assert themselves, and do not cooperate while pursuing their own concerns and refusing to see others' perspective. So this takes on the win-lose approach. They does not want to cooperate with others in order to find a common outcome. So this is appropriate to use when you have to stand up for your rights or morals, need to end a long-term conflict that might result in a terrible decision being made. So competing, I feel like a lot of the politics with politicians, I feel like a lot of them would probably go with this because they're they want their side to win. They feel like what they stand for, their morals, is the right way to go. So I feel like for both opposing sides, this is probably the best conflict management that will fit them. to say. I'm not saying it's wrong or right, but I feel like that's the way it would be. And just in politics, just in general. Collaborating. This is a style that works for someone who is willing to find a solution that meets the needs for all parties. Not necessarily finding a common ground, but a solution that everyone is happy about, not just to satisfy. So a win-win situation. This is appropriate when multiple perspectives need to be addressed. There is an important relationship present between the parties. So family, for example, whether it's deciding on where we're going for Thanksgiving, where we're going for Christmas, having opposing sides, but finding a solution where everyone is happy about it or satisfied in a way. Avoiding, which is me. This style is typically those that are evading the conflict. You would neither pursue your beliefs nor those of others involved, and you continue to dodge the situation. I'm telling you, I will run away from conflict until I can't run anymore because I don't like conflict. It just puts me in a wrong position. I don't like it at all. Appropriate to use when you don't have time or need more time to think because you feel as though you have no chance of winning or you're afraid of being met with resentment, which that could be my situation. Maybe I'm afraid of what's going to happen next versus actually finding a solution. Because I feel like if I find a solution, that's okay. But it's like, is it going to end our friendship? Am I not going to get what I want or something like that, you know? So it could be just the resentment for a lot of people who avoid situations. Another one is accommodating, which this style forsakes your own needs or desire in exchange for others. So putting the concerns of others before your own, and usually happens due to persuasion. So this can be used when you care less about the issue than others and want to keep peace. I also feel like I can tie into this one because there is certain situations where you're just like tired of fighting or you're tired of going through it. So it's like, okay, we can just do what you want to. So you're putting what you really believe or what you really want aside and letting the other person go, which can be okay sometimes because there is situations where you're not going to always be right. You're not going to always be wrong, but it is okay to let someone else win or get the glory for that moment. So this is a win-lose situation. Not everyone comes out happy, but again, there is some type of solution that's done. Compromising. This style finds a solution that will at least please part of the party. So you would work to find a middle ground between all the needs, which would typically leave people unsatisfied or satisfied to a certain extent. And this is appropriate to use when a deadline needs to be reached and is approaching soon. So this is like the assignment that's due at 11:59, but it's 11 o'clock. So you have to figure something out just to get it done or get it out the way, which, you know, I feel like a lot of us have done with the compromising situation where at least we're pleasing somebody or at least we're getting it done out the way, whether it's what we really want to happen or not. Okay, so those were the 5 conflict management styles. So based on the definitions that I gave and the example when to use it, you guys can go back and compare them to like your animal that you were presenting, and you can discuss if you felt like okay, that is to me, like I can see that now. So if anyone wants to share, or if you want me to go back to the slide that had to do with your animal and we could talk about it, I can open up the chat for us to do that now before we do conclusion. No one.
Something I was thinking about as you were going through the different like styles here at the end is I see a little bit of myself in all of these. I definitely feel as though I'm the compromiser, which aligns well with the compromising owl that I got through the conflict animal quiz. But, you know, when you were talking about the different ways or when they're appropriate, like when you need to save relationships or you really just need to kind of find a solution and move on, things like that, I think I can identify different situations or people that I would have to use those tactics with. And so I think this helps because it helps me to understand how other people may address conflict too, and how I have to adjust myself as a leader when I'm trying to solve a problem with them or a conflict with other people that maybe have a different style than me.
Thank you, Jessica. That is another great point. I would also say that, like I said before, I feel like I tie into a lot of these when it comes to different situations. And a lot of people say it depends on the situation, and it also depends on the person you're dealing with. Not everybody is open to have a sit down, grown up conversation. Some people are just, I am right, always right. So it does depend on the situation. So that is a great thing to bring up also. So Jordan says she agrees. I'm trying to think, Jordan, I don't remember what your animal was. I'm just gonna go up really quickly. Okay, I can't see it. Emily said, I got a compromiser on my quiz and I didn't entirely agree at first, but it makes more sense after hearing you talk. Yeah, like when I first took it, I mean, I knew that I was an avoidance person, but when I first took it and I got a turtle, it's like, okay. But when you hear more and get examples, like Jess said, when you see like when to use it, when it's appropriate to use it, you're like, oh, okay, that is me. I am like that. So that definitely an explanation and examples can help a lot with this. Okay, I'm gonna read the conclusion. If you guys have any questions about conflict or conflict management, you can start putting them in the chat so we can answer them after the conclusion. If not, then we'll just go straight through. So for the conclusion, conflicts that are poorly managed will cause problems and negative attitude, as well as environments that aren't conducive to grow. So if you never find a resolution or never find a common ground, this can affect those around you, attitudes around you, personalities, and just the environment as a whole. So organizations, and it doesn't help you grow at all. Conflicts that are well managed will stimulate competition and identify legitimate differences. And understanding the ways in which you are most comfortable addressing conflict will help you mediate as well as understand the needs of your team. So going back to when to use certain conflict management, whether it's accommodating, whether it's collaborating, being competitive, avoiding the situation, because none of those are wrong. None of those are just the 100% right answer, but they do, like each one do call for certain situations. So just understanding when you would need to use them is the best way to go about the situation. So if we don't have any questions, we just do the closing part of the workshop. Upcoming events we have here in the Leadership Center is developing your personal leadership philosophy, which is December 2nd at 3 p.m. via Zoom. Our next lesson in leadership is with Tiara Moore, who is the president of USG. So that will be on December 10th at 12 p.m. And that will be through our Instagram Live. So you guys can log onto our Instagram and ask questions based on leadership experience or just anything you want to know about Tiara. And if you want to be added to our mailing list, which receives our newsletter, and you receive also the links for the Zooms for all of our events, that is our email at lead@kent.edu, and you just email us and we'll add you to the mailing list. So here we have a collegiate leadership competition. This course is, I believe, only spring semester, I think. Why should you enroll? It develops leadership skills, build your resume, grow your network, and represents Kent States in regional competition. So it is a competitive course based like leadership wise, and it also helps you build your own leadership skills. Additional information, if you are here for a FYE class and are seeking credit for this course, go to ssp.kent.edu/attendance and type in the code 43880. I will leave this up for you guys to get it done so you don't have to worry about doing it later. And if you would like to be entered into our November giveaway for the Leadership Center, you can scan this QR code below and it will enter your email address. It's just the email address. You don't have to answer questions. And I will go back to that slide for you guys too. Flash Perks credit, we also do that here. So you can email lead@kent.edu, which is our email again, with your contact information. Usually that is just, I believe, your first and last name, email address. We're gonna have your email address, and maybe your student ID also. And if you want to receive Flash Perks credit for attending this event. So I'm going to go back to the last slide for those who are here for attendance. So you can just type in this code and also open the floor for any questions for you guys. Oh, Jess put the link in the chat for you guys too. Yes. So I do appreciate everyone for attending this workshop. I do appreciate you guys for being very involved and taking my quiz for me. And I ask that you guys stay involved with the Leadership Center and our Instagram. Follow us on Instagram at Kent State Leads, and come to more workshops that we have here.
Thanks, Arkeylah.
You're welcome.